In continuation of the class on the first topic, fundamental of UI UX design. So we've explained what UI UX is and the difference between UI and UX. So let's go into comparison. So comparing both, we focus on user journey and needs on UX design. Then we gave an example of cake. So the cake has a complete experience from when the baker make choice of the flour to use to bake the cake and the process of making it and all. So the whole experience to eventually make the cake look nice and at the same time create a lasting experience for the user. Then for UI, it's basically focus on the visual design and the layout. So we mentioned that UI is focused more on the look and feel of a design, and basically on the cake illustration, we actually highlighted the decoration around the cake, the icing, and all the decoration. So UI might not have to do with all the processes. So, but UX is the overall process, the overall experience of the user, and starting from the first thing, the first uh, action you took while you are making decision on what to produce and then the kind of product to produce. So then the takeaway is here is on UX we basically focus on functionality and the experience. So then on UI we focus on aesthetics and then interaction. So moving on. So this is the breakdown of the process of the steps you take while building UI design. Basically, you should understand. We mentioned use the identity, brand identity earlier. So these are the steps you take to build brand identity and also build like style guide or or design systems for your brand. So to make up the beautiful and the interactive UI, so you create UI visual design. You decide on the color palette to use, the typography you want to use, the size of the buttons, the color of the buttons, if the button should be outlined or filled, or where and how you use the button in every positions, the animations that each of the buttons would have at clicking, at hovering, at when you hover, when you click, when you press, when all those interaction, you decide on them in the process of designing UI. Then you also design the style guides. So beyond just color and typography, you want to also design more components, most components in your style guide. Like you want to decide on the shadow, the depth of the shadows, the grid, like where and how to position elements in your design. So you want to decide on a lot of other things around your UI. Then your design system. Design system is basically the reusable, building up a reusable element in your design. So you want to build cards, you want to build modals, you want to build breadcrumbs, you want to build buttons and everything that you're reusing across all your design. So you want to have them built for brand consistency. So because while you're building, you just be picking all those things to build the bigger an elaborated screen. So then, so example here is connecting it back to the cake illustration. So designing the cake icing pattern, you make choice of the pattern, the color of the icing, and all that. So then, moving on to UX, these are the steps you take in actualizing those, fulfilling the US principle. So I mentioned earlier that user research is very important. So what are involved in user research? You do survey, you ask questions from user to understand their pain points, to know how they feel about the existing product they use and what they feel should be improved on the proposed system. So you interview them, you survey, you can organize a small interview. You can set up a form, a Google form, and ask. A lot of us would have done this before, probably when we're in school, try to send a questionnaires out, especially those of us that are finished from department like statistics. So these are part of things you do to fulfill your the particular your degree. So it's part of what you do in your project. So the same thing you do here, just to understand the user, how the user feel about the product you're building, in order to tailor the solution directly to fit in to solve their problem. So then you want to build, after gathering all the data. I mentioned that you synthesize, you convert the raw data into something that will be meaningful and useful, and eventually you highlight all the points, all the conclusion, all the resolutions from the interviews. So after highlighting it, you start generating ideas, and those ideas you can start sketching them on paper. You can start drawing them, and you can also use tools on your system to do that. You can use Figma to do that. You can use Balsamic. You can use a lot of other tools. You can do that on FigJam also. You can just sketch out your ideas. So just to all the research process also, and interviews, you can do all that on FigJam. You can do whiteboarding, you can storyboarding, then you can use all those cards on FigJam to highlight all the points, all the necessary questions and answers to them. And the process of synthesizing, it is very important and necessary that you document all this process. You don't just do them and throw them away. You document all this process, you make sure they are saved, because I mentioned earlier that products are not being completed. There's no product that you build and you say it is finished, it's completed. No, you iterate. There's always room for improvement. So in the course of iteration, you might need to go back to steps that you have taken earlier, to circle back on them, and then to revise some things that you have done. So all the documented research results can actually help out in all that. Then lastly, you design them, prototype and test. So the prototyping is covers both design and connecting your designs together to make it interactive. So when they click a button, it clicks. When they click a link, it clicks. When they move to a screen, it navigates from one screen to another, just for user to be able to interact with it. Then you test, invite users to test out the app, and you try to ask questions about their experience. So you can use tools like Figma to build your design and prototype. And then lastly, you can use tools like Maze and some other tools for user testing. So then, example, connecting this to the cake illustration is like testing the cake recipe with user to refine flavor and texture. So like inviting some set of users to test your cake, and you ask them about how they feel and what their experience is about the cake. I could remember when in my HND level, uh, Department of Hospitality, they used to do practicals, and they invite guests to come and taste their food. And then there are lecturers and invigilators around, trying to watch them and see how they serve the guests. So, and eventually they ask you feedback about the food that you just ate. So you just have to tell about what you experience about it. You understand? So then that will determine, you will help the lecturer or invigilator to determine if the person has actually fulfilled and satisfied the user needs, because the cooking is not meant for that person, it's meant for the user. So the same thing with design also. So you have to bring in design users to test for you. So you don't just design and then you do all those things and you leave everything just for yourself. So let's move to importance of UI UX design. So the importance the UI UX design is very, very important this in this world that we have now. So it can make or break a product. So if the design of a product is not done well, the experience of the user is not being considered while building the product, it can eventually, if the product gets developed and get launched into the market, it can actually break the product. So the expect, because the developer would work based on what designers provide for them. The designer have to do all the research work, go around and make sure that they are satisfying, they are empathizing with the user while building the design. So if that empathy is not there, the developer will just assume everything is all right and just build, and then the user would still complain. And if the design is fine, then it can also make the product. So that's how important the UI UX is. So it affects how the user perceive and interact with the product. So how the user see, sometimes you don't even get to use a product before you know about it. You just listen to people who have used it before, and then you just base your judgment on what you heard from them. So if the product start getting negative feedbacks from users, so you start perceiving that product as something that would not work or that you cannot use. So and then, so all this can influence the satisfaction and the loyalty of the user. So you might start get losing a lot of loyal users, even people that have your app and still struggling to manage to use it. So by the time they start hearing a lot of things about it, eventually they start dropping. So good UI UX design enhances user satisfaction. It increases user retention, so the user gets retained, and then you get more user, and can significantly impact the success of a product. So it bridges the gap between technology and people. Yes, this part is very important. The UIS bridges gap between technology and people. So you have to take note of that. The technology is the solution that you are building, the problem that you're solving. Then the people that would use it, you have to put both in consideration. How both can be both can interact well, both can be connected well, and then it suits in the psychology of the people. So making products accessible and enjoyable, it's very important that product is accessible and enjoyable. You go on Play Store, you go on wherever it is, you type the URL, and then you get the product. It's not like you're struggling to get on the product, and eventually when you get it, you enjoy using it. A lot of us enjoy using WhatsApp. If I ask any one of us to delete probably all the applications on your phone and have just one or two applications left on the phone, I believe a lot of us would not want to delete WhatsApp and probably our bank app. So because that's where we receive our money, and every day we send or receive money. So those are majorly two things that is important to us: interaction, connection with our family, friends, and all. A lot of us are studying, to connect with your classmates in school and all. WhatsApp will do that for you, and then your bank app that you use to earn and send money. So if product, we have a lot of bank app, if fintech app, a lot of them. So you make choice based on the one you enjoy using. So that is where the UI UX design, that is what makes you distinct out of different from every other one. So WhatsApp also, if you look at Play Store or App Store, you see some related applications that looks like WhatsApp. But why do you choose? Why is WhatsApp important to you? It's because it's easy. It's easy. It's accessible. It's enjoyable. It's usable. You can, and there's inclusiveness in it. There's accessibility. You can access it. It's inclusive. It says that if you cannot type, you don't understand English, or you can't even type anything, you can easily click on the recording. All those elderly people that might not be able to type, they can easily click on recording, they record their voice, and so that's inclusiveness. So it has captured all the level of the user, no matter what level you are. So that's why, and that's very, very important. Then importance of UI/UX continuation. So the UI/UX design can impact businesses, and it also can also impact the user. So we've mentioned all this. It increases the sales, customer loyalty, competitive edge. Yes, it makes you have a competitive edge over others, just as I mentioned just shortly. Then for user, you want to enjoy what you're using. You want it to be efficient. You want it to not to be frustrating. So you don't want frustration. You click on this, it clicks. You want to navigate, navigate. You get on a screen, you want to get out of it. You see a button that helps you get out of it. So that's the importance. Then look at this man with a lot of money. That's an illustration of a business person whose application is actually making a lot of money. So it's in twofold. Business must make money. When business makes money and they are enjoying, just like this, then the user should also be happy. So if this set of users are not happy, probably this man will not be as happy, and be earning so much like this. So as you are making the user happy, you are also earning money. And then, but when your manager or whoever, probably this is the CEO of a company, is happy like this, as a UI designer, you should know that you would also be happy. Something is coming into your pocket also. So this is the this is the result, and that is what you get to earn at the end of the day, by becoming a good UI UX designer. You are making people happy, and at the same time you're making a lot of money too. So then, career opportunities that we can explore in UI UX designer, mostly in our end here in Nigeria. Mostly, with to start with, you want to start with you want to start by becoming a UI UX designer. Sometimes I call it full stack designer, because even aside becoming UI UX designer, some companies require you to have some additional skills, by probably knowing how to do stuff, some little designs, beyond creative designs, beyond just doing UI UX. And understanding creative design could also make you actually stand out from every other person. You want to do you want to you are designing, and you are able to put some touch of creativity in your design, beyond just putting up screens. Do you understand that? So it's good that you are up and doing. And then, before you can specialize on becoming probably a UX researcher. You just want to streamline your learning, and you say you want to become an interaction designer. You want to become a product designer, or just UI designer. You're gonna start with by becoming UI UX designer. Note that. Then probably after a while, you're now on intermediate level. Okay, you not start learning. Learning does not stop. You continue learning. You start taking courses based on UX research. You start taking courses probably focused on interaction design. You start taking courses, on to upskill yourself to become a proper product designer, because product designer is beyond just UI UX design. You do design, at the same time be able to collaborate well with your team, and also be able to create value for the business. You understand the business part of it. So you can be in a meeting with the CEO, with the head of the team, discussing beyond just how to design. You are discussing how designing a product could actually bring in revenue into the business. So that is, you understand the business side of it. You understand, okay, if we build this product and we add this and these features to it, this is the likely revenue that it will bring in. So that is when you're becoming a professional product designer. Then UI designer, you're streamlining, and strictly focusing on just UI design. Then we also have UX designer, strictly focusing on UX design. And we have a lot of other career opportunities that you can explore. And basically, the tool that you use in becoming this, the mother of all, there are a lot of tools that surrounds becoming UI UX or whatever it is. A lot of them. Now that we even have AI tools. We have a lot of AI tools that you can actually use and it will enhance your work. You can also be a UX writer. UX writer is basically people who writes content for UI UX designers or product designers. So researcher, as the name implies, you just research. Interaction, just do interactions. Product, I explained that UI is basically focusing on the how to build the feel, the look and feel of a design, the aesthetics part of designs. So use Figma and then some other additional softwares that you can use. FigJam is also very important if you're becoming a US researcher. Miro, there's Whimsical, there is Maze. I mentioned that for user testing. There's Daydo, DTHEY.do. There are a lot of applications that you use. You can use Daydo to build user journey. So a lot of applications like that. So then to start with, we're using Figma, basically Figma. So then, and FigJam also for our research. So yeah, I would recommend that as we move on, try and read books. So this is how to learn well and understand what you're learning. So because all these things I've been saying are not, a lot of it are not coming just from my head. It is basically out of things that I've also studied beyond just learning UI UX designer or becoming a product designer. So I have to continue learning and reading also just to understand things better. I could remember when I started up as a UI UX designer, my first few months, there are a lot of things that I do not understand until when I started studying, reading books. So like this first book now, the design of everyday thing by Don Norman. So if you read it, those things that I mentioned, that design is already surrounded. We are already surrounded by designs in our house, in your workplace, in everywhere you go. You see the doors, the when you go to the restroom and everything, you are surrounded with designs. So you start seeing all these things practically, and then you start picking details from them that would help you understand the UI UX design much better. So I'm recommending these two books to start with. So then that is all about the class, the first class, which is the fundamental of UI UX design. And then the takeaway here is basically, a UI user smiling, then you have the polished application interface, and then questions. There's a link sent already to the group that you should follow the link and then drop any questions you have. So you can drop any question you have in that group, and then I believe in the next class, in the next live class, we'll be able to interact and discuss well on whatever concern you have, and probably I would be able to attend to some of the questions. Thank you so much.